I am fully obsessed with Cyberpunk 2077. No, seriously. I can't stop playing this game. And yeah, I get it. Cyberpunk wasn't always like this. It started off as a buggy, glitchy mess that made me question every single purchase I ever made. But here I am today, living in Night City like it's my second home. You're probably wondering, how the hell did that happen? Well, settle in, because I'm about to tell you the story of how I went from nope, not playing this again, to I'm never leaving this damn city. If you watched my last video, how RDR2 ruined my experience for gaming, you know that I was pretty much convinced that nothing would come close to the sheer brilliance of Red Dead Redemption 2. After experiencing that world, I was done with open world games. I didn't think there was anything out there that could even come close. But then, Cyberpunk 2077 happened, and not in the way I expected. Let's rewind the clock a bit. Back when Cyberpunk 2077 first released, I was as hyped as anyone else. The trailers were fire, the idea of a futuristic open-world RPG was dope, and Keanu Reeves was straight up iconic. I thought I was about to step into one of the best games ever, but nah, what I got was a glitchy, crashing, buggy mess. I'm talking about bugs so bad that I was watching my character float around the streets, missing limbs, disappearing mid-dialogue, or disintegrating while I was talking to someone. Not exactly the immersive future I was promised, right? And around this time, I had just finished Red Dead Redemption 2, which sets such a high bar that honestly, nothing else could touch it. I was convinced I'd never play another open-world game again, because RDR2 had perfected it. Immersive, detailed, real-world physics, a living, breathing world. So, when I went back to Cyberpunk, I just couldn't. It wasn't stable. It wasn't fun. It didn't live up to the massive hype. And frankly, I didn't have the patience to wait for a game to get better. After a few failed attempts to get into Cyberpunk, I gave up. I mean, you can't really blame me. When you're coming off something as masterful as RDR2, nothing else is going to feel as polished. I left Cyberpunk in my library, just gathering digital dust, for months. I told myself, I'll come back to it when it's fixed. Maybe. I don't know. But then, Cyberpunk Edgerunners happened, and I gotta be honest, I wasn't planning on watching it. It was just sitting there on Netflix one day, and I thought, well, let's see if this anime can convince me to dive back into this world. The moment I started watching, I was hooked. The animation was wild, the world building was insane, and the story had me emotionally invested way more than I thought I would be. It was like the show was breathing new life into a game I had already written off. By the time I finished the series, I was like, okay, maybe Cyberpunk wasn't all bad. Maybe I was too quick to judge it. And then, just like that, I felt the urge to go back into the game. I mean, how could I resist? The anime did a fantastic job of reminding me of the allure of the Cyberpunk world. And that's when I decided, screw it, let's see how far this rabbit hole goes now that the game's supposedly fixed. So I fire up Cyberpunk 2077 again, and wow, what a difference. The bugs? Almost non-existent. The crashes? Hardly any. I was actually able to play without my game crashing every 10 minutes. It was like stepping into Night City again. But this time it felt alive. The AI wasn't glitching, the cars didn't randomly fly into the sky, and I could actually engage with the world without worrying that my character was about to break the game's physics engine. I wasn't just playing anymore. I was living in Night City. I'm talking about hours spent customizing my tech, deciding if I wanted to go full corpo or just become a wandering rogue, and upgrading my skills as if I was preparing for a war. It wasn't just the missions that kept me hooked. It was the little things. The sounds, the neon lights, the random street brawls, the way people interacted with me. It was an immersive experience like I'd never seen before. I actually felt like I was V, walking through this dystopian world that was alive with story. Alright, now let's talk about the Phantom Liberty DLC. This was a game changer, no doubt. The expansion introduced a whole new chapter to the story, and it did not disappoint. The new area, Dogtown, was an absolute blast to explore. The visuals? Incredible. The story? Well, let's just say it's one of the most intense emotional experiences I've had in a DLC. You meet Solomon Reed, the new character played by Idris Elba, who instantly levels up the game's narrative. But it's not just his character. Phantom Liberty brought in a darker, more complex storyline that made me question everything. It felt like CD Projekt Red wasn't just adding content. They were redefining the Cyberpunk experience. And here's the thing, I was already obsessed with the base game, but Phantom Liberty made me fall in love with it all over again. It introduced new gameplay mechanics, deeper character development, and even more choices that affected the world around me. If you thought the base game was immersive, this expansion took that feeling and cranked it up to 11. By this point, I'm fully sucked into the world of Cyberpunk 2077. I'm doing the side quests, exploring every single corner of Night City, and trying to unlock every secret this game has to offer. There are so many layers to this world, it's like peeling an onion. Each layer reveals something deeper, something more intense. But the main reason why I can't stop playing is Night City. This city has its own vibe. Like, if you just wander around for a bit, you'll start to notice that it's actually living and breathing, way more than I expected. And it's honestly hard to get out of once you're in. I'm not even gonna lie. Stepping out of my apartment in Cyberpunk now just feels normal, like it feels like I should be here. I get caught up in the random stuff happening on the street, someone yelling, a car chase, or some gang fight in the middle of the sidewalk. You know, the usual stuff. It's honestly pretty wild, but it never feels empty. It's like there's always something going on, and you just end up a part of it. Sometimes I find myself just walking around with no goal in mind, and I'm still having the time of my life. Also, can we talk about how every district in this city feels like a completely different world? You've got Watson, it's like the city's adrenaline rush, everything's loud and fast and chaotic. Then there's Westbrook, where it's like everyone's too cool for me, and I'm just here trying not to spill my drink on their expensive tech. And then, my favorite, Japantown. It's got this chill, neon-drenched cyberpunk vibe where I just grab some food, wander around, and pretend I know what I'm doing. Basically, every corner of the city feels different, and it keeps things interesting. Honestly, some days I just drive around the city. No missions, no side stuff, just cruising. And yes, sometimes I'll hit a wall or crash into a car, but it's part of the fun. That's what I love about this game. It's so easy to just get lost in the world. Like, I'll start out looking for one thing, but then I'll get distracted by something completely random. I'll follow a side quest or a cool neon sign, and then 3 hours later I'll realize, wait, I didn't even finish what I was doing in the first place. It's like the city itself is pulling me in. So yeah, that's why I can't stop playing Cyberpunk. It's not just a game, it's the world. I'm hooked because I'm not just playing, I'm living in Night City. The city has this weird way of making you feel like you're just meant to be there. Every time I get back into it, it's like I'm discovering something new or just falling deeper into whatever random thing I was doing. And honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. You know what I realized after spending so much time in Cyberpunk? It's not just a game, it's a lifestyle. It's the kind of world where you can get lost and never want to come back. There's always something new to discover, a new character to meet, a new story to uncover. And that's what makes Cyberpunk 2077 stand out from the crowd. The world doesn't stop moving when you're not playing. It's a living, breathing thing that keeps pulling you back in. So yeah, I'm obsessed. There's no turning back now, and I gotta say, Cyberpunk 2077 did the impossible. It went from being a game I completely wrote off to being one of my all-time favorites. And if this video makes you think twice about giving a game a second chance, then I've done my job. If you like this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more content. And seriously, if you're living in Night City, or if you plan to, let me know in the comments. Maybe I'll see you on the streets. Until then, I'll be the one cruising through Phantom Liberty in style. See you, chums.